Welcome to the Russ Flips Whips podcast. Today we're interviewing Nick, who sells McLarens. I'm super excited because Nick reached out. I put something on my Instagram story and I said, hey, if you sell over 30 cars a month, I want to talk to you. And Nick was one of the only people who was like, hey, I don't even sell close to 30 a month, but I sell highline exotics. He sells McLarens. And I was like, that's super cool. I know you're not going to sell a lot of those, but it's a completely different side of the industry that I know nothing about. So I was super interested, and that's why I decided to set this up. Nick, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah. Hey, first off, appreciate it. Should be fun. There's obviously a lot of similarities between, all car sales, but there's definitely some differences. So it'll be fun to get your perspective at a Lincoln dealer too. So, my name's Nick Leinegan. I work at McLaren Greenwich up here in Connecticut. Been in the car business for probably call it 10 years now. I graduated college in 2014. So I worked for a lot of different brands, have sold McLarens and Porsches, and then done a lot of marketing stuff for kind of a whole host of different brands. So a lot of different perspectives. So it should be a fun conversation.
So you got out of college 10 years ago. You went straight into the car business?
Yes. So I'm from New York originally, right on the border of Connecticut. And yes, so I had an internship with a marketing company doing just events, like marketing events and kind of showcasing vehicles for BMW. Right out of school, and then kind of progress that into, the car businesses, whoever,
Sure.
they think you're a good dude or they want you on the team. So they offered me a job full time there. So I did a lot of marketing, experiential events for BMW, Aston Martin, Ferrari, some other fun stuff, but yeah, right out of school, into auto and never looked back.
Never used your degree, pretty much. Always been in sales.
Correct.
Growing up, did you think of yourself as a salesman, or was this something that was like, I'll give it a try, but I don't know, guys, I'm not really good at sales?
Yeah, it's that kind of interesting. I wasn't like the kid who had like a lemonade stand and was like the entrepreneur always trying to I wish I was, but I wasn't. I played sports growing up, so I didn't have time to start an LLC at age 8. But I was actually doing an event at Miller Motor Cars for a totally separate company, just helping them out with some of their new car launches for their Rolls-Royce store.
Yeah.
And the GM and I had chatted throughout the week that I was there, and we got to be friendly enough where he was like, "Hey," kind of jokingly, "if you ever considered selling cars, let me know."
Yeah.
I enjoy what I did, so I kind of brushed it off. And then, I took it a little more seriously when I had a serious relationship that kind of asked me to stop traveling so much. And I interviewed for the job, and so my first ever job selling at a dealership was McLaren, which is probably not the path that most people take. But I got super lucky and fortunate to
That's crazy. Yeah, that they would allow somebody who had never sold a car in their life to sell one of the most prestigious cars in the world. What was that feeling like? I mean, you were what, probably 22 years old, 23 years old, probably,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, probably didn't have a whole lot of money. So this was probably a whole new world for you
Yeah.
of clientele and dealing with people. I mean, what were the challenges at first, selling highline exotic? And what's the most expensive McLaren? Just so people can.
So part one, it was an honor, honestly. That's how I took it, and truly, I think a lot of dealerships, it's an honor to work there. There's a lot of people who want to sell cars. There's a lot of people who would kill for a job, not only at a McLaren store, at a Lincoln store, at a Honda store. There's guys at Honda that make, really, really good money.
Yeah.
So very good money. It was an honor, honestly. It's up in our neck of the woods. Miller Motor Cars is a very prestigious name. The brands we carry are, Rolls-Royce, Aston Martin, Bentley, Ferrari, Maserati, McLaren, and then we go all the way up to Bugatti, Pagani, and Rimac, which are, $2, $5, $10 million cars. So, Miller Motor Cars as a whole holds a certain kind of cachet up here. So it was very cool. And then in terms of what's the most expensive, the biggest ticket that I sold was a P1, so a McLaren P1 for just about $2 million. That was crazy.
Crazy. $1 million. Did they pay cash or they finance that?
Those guys are all just wiring money, and they're the ones that are super excited, and they're like, "Oh, wow, right now, let me know." And it's like,
those like the easier sales, like those guys know what they want. You're not like doing a walk around, popping the hood for them. They're like,
correct.
You know, and we all get them, so this is no disrespect. That's kind of like you answered the phone at the right time, or you got the right lead.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But the nice part is there's only 2 of us working there. So it's not like I'm fending off, 8 other salesmen for the sale.
Now, when you first started, and especially to anyone listening to this, it can be intimidating to start selling cars. I know how I felt selling new Lincolns. And this is about you, not about me, but I'll never forget my first Navigator sale. And I'm 19 years old. I'm so excited, and I just got like the world's crankiest, meanest guy. Like,
Yeah.
He probably spawned my whole like, come on, sport like thing, because he was just like that to me. Like
OG sport.
Yeah, yeah. Did you experience that when you first started, especially at such a young age, selling such a high end vehicle?
Yeah, it's a good call, to be honest. You get both sides of it. You get the people that understand that you're there to help, and you also get the people that go in with the mindset of, hey, I'm going to try and beat this guy down to the best price because that's all I want. Which I get. I get both sides of it. McLaren, or I guess Highline in general, is probably a little more relationship based than some of the other brands that are probably more transactional. So that part's nice, honestly, because I don't, I treat it more as building a friendship and a relationship with the client, and then it's easier to sell. And I know you're very big on referrals, and it's the same with us. It's not, I wouldn't say as frequent. We're not, like we say, we're not doing 30 cars a month, but yeah, you get a lot of those people that, really enjoy your friendship. And I'm a big golfer, so there's a lot of people that have some nice memberships. So I
was just about to say, you've been to some cool places then.
Yeah. Anytime I see a golf logo on a shirt or a hat, I make sure I just slip in the fact that I like to golf.
Yeah, you're perceptive then, man. I take it for granted that I'm perceptive. I've had like other salesmen that I'm like, I try to always coach my other salesmen, even though I'm not the manager. I just love helping people. I'm like, hey, did you ask that guy about golf? No, why would I? I don't know. Maybe the golf hat on or the Westmoreland Country Club shirt on. But was that a good? Oh, I didn't even notice. So I'm like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Did you experience a lot of challenges when you first started of people taking you seriously because you were so young?
No, it's funny because you get the odd ones for sure that maybe they don't take you seriously, but kind of what I was saying, they feel like they can take advantage and they feel like they're going to win you over. It is a different world, it's they kind of, like you were saying, they know what they want. It's not like we have 15 cars on the lot that are all the same color, and it's just picking out the one that's the cleanest or the one that has like adaptive cruise versus not.
Yeah.
It's more like they needed, or they wanted, I shouldn't say. I don't sell anything that people need. Let's make that clear. It's all wants.
Yeah.
They wanted an orange car. They've been looking for one at X price, so it's you don't really get it where, I'm sure if I was 19, 20, and I have a baby face to begin with, maybe I would have gotten run over a couple times. But we also do a lot of out-of-state deals. You'd be surprised at how many cars we ship elsewhere. So it's not like they met me and I'm on the phone and I'm just a sales guy. So
yeah, just how old do you sound on the phone, and how seasoned?
I'm gonna listen back and I'm gonna cringe at how my voice sounds. So
I get that all the time though. I have people come in and be like, "Oh wow, I thought you were like 50 years old." I don't think I sound 50, but it might just be like with the experience I have and the things I say and how I say them and how I present them and the knowledge. I'm sure you have so much knowledge, which we're gonna talk about, dive deeper into McLaren.
There, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now I do want to ask a little bit about McLaren. I know nothing about McLaren other than the name and that they build super nice cars. And I was thinking this and I was going to Google it, but I was just like, let me just save all my questions for the McLaren.
Yeah.
Why would I Google it when I have the ultimate source of information? McLaren does not build an SUV, or am I wrong?
Not yet. Yeah.
But they're gonna have to, right? I just feel like everyone wants an SUV and an exotic car right now.
Yeah, you kind of go down the list. Lamborghini, they have one. Ferrari now has one. Aston Martin has one. Bentley has one. So it's like
Porsche has one. So they
get good ones. Yeah, eventually I would think they're going to make one. It would be very cool and it would be a badass car.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, do you see them kind of taking the route of if it was up to you and they said, "Hey, Nick, what do you think we should do?" Would you prefer like a super prestigious one, or maybe a more appeal to the masses, like the Lamborghini Urus, where obviously like not everyone can have them, but like they could be on every corner of LA in terms of it would help your volume. What would you prefer?
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because then you go like, if you want to dive deep into the economics, you build too many of something and then they just depreciate, or the used car market goes to heck. So it from a selfish perspective of selling cars, build them all.
Yeah, okay, good. That's the right answer, Nick. You're a salesman. Go with the selfish answer at first.
Correct. Put all the profit margin in it.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's cool to sell stuff that's limited. Like we have our main series of vehicles, and then we have our limited stuff that we only build for a year or two. And it's always fun to sell the limited stuff. I don't know. It's a great question. The Urus is a great car. The RSQ8 is virtually the same car from Audi.
Yeah.
And then you have like the Aston Martin that came out with an even faster version of their own car. So that would be kind of cool to build like a more dailyable one, and then have one that has 850 horsepower.
I'm sure people listening out there, this is like the most common question you probably get. I don't know the answer. Like, what's an oil change on a McLaren cost? I feel like a lot of people probably ask you that.
Yeah. So honestly, I mean, again, it's all relative. In our world, it's not astronomical. You can typically budget, if some McLaren owner sees this and roasts me, I apologize, but probably you can budget like $2,500 to $3,000 for yearly servicing.
That's not bad.
No, I mean, again, if you're spending, it's all. I kind of look at it as like percentages of how much you're spending.
Right.
Like if a CPO costs 2% of the car, right? If you're buying a $20,000 car, like, oh, that's a good deal. It's $400.
Yeah.
If you're buying a $1,000 or $200,000 car, it's $4,000. So
yeah,
it's relatively, in my opinion, inexpensive, or whatever you want to.
I thought you were going to say like $5,000 for one oil change. So
yeah, it's not crazy, to be honest.
Now, I guess you could also counter argue though that when you say let's say $3,000 annual maintenance, that's probably on what, like 3,000 miles a year.
Yeah,
no one's racking up the miles on the typical person dailying these. These are fun cars, weekend cars, Sunday cars, church cars.
Yes, correct.
Now, what is the most popular McLaren model? Like I said, I'm not familiar with any models at all.
Yeah, the one that probably people see the most is a 720S, I'd say. It was produced from 2018 to 2023.
Okay.
And it's like the one, if you Google like McLaren 720, it's the one that you've probably seen all the time with like the big headlights.
I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, you would for sure know what it is.
I'm sure. I've seen a ton of McLaren. Oh yeah.
This one.
Oh yeah, those are sick.
Yep.
Yeah. Those are sick.
Yeah, so that's probably the most popular. They're obviously all the pre-owned, because now we have the 750S, which is the predecessor. And then it's funny because you have, people always come in that don't really know much about the cars, and you kind of have to give them like a history lesson.
Yeah.
Because we've only been making road cars besides the McLaren F1 for 12 or 13 years now.
I didn't know that.
That's right. So, the racing heritage goes way back with Bruce McLaren.
Of course.
And then the McLaren F1 is, was $1 million car, and now it's a 10, 20, $30 million car, which is crazy. But the road cars, the MP412C came out, I believe, in 2012. And that was our first car, So people always have the issues of like, if you Google McLaren, one of the first things that comes up is probably electrical problems, because there's always like funny little things that happen.
Yeah.
But again, it's, 12 years of trying to build cars. So it's, yeah.
Now, is your dealership located in an area where like you get a lot of like foot traffic, or like a heavily populated area? It's like not really out of the way.
Yes. Yeah. So we're on it's called Putnam Avenue, and it's one of the main roads in Greenwich. A lot of people like to come take photos.
That's where I was going with that.
I'd say percentage-wise, it's probably 80% people that walk in, maybe 70% of people that walk in are taking photos, which is fine.
How do you like? appropriately are like, "Hey, are you
Yeah.
buying a car today, or are you just taking
Yeah.
pictures, or maybe somewhere in between? Like, I don't want to waste my time, don't want to waste your time." Like, how do you navigate that? Because I know I'm at a Lincoln dealer. We build very nice cars.
Yes.
Not many people come in and take pictures. So, like, if somebody comes in, I'm greeting them like they're here to buy a car, and I'll let them stop me.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you give me an Aviator Black Label and I'll take some photos, but
Yeah, you have good taste.
yeah. We had one at my old dealership. I was like, this thing's nice.
So when somebody walks in the door, like,
Yeah.
do you judge them? Do you like what they get out of? What are they wearing? Like, does
I
he have his
think we would
camera out?
all be
Or
lying if not every person working at a dealership did that to some extent. There's
I do it
probably
all
less,
the time. You have to.
but you can do it if you help them, you know?
And it's like,
Who's the
but
best sales?
where I'm getting at though too is like, I could see somebody get out of like the world's ugliest car, and I'm still gonna greet them with enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I might
totally.
think things in the back of my head, but you said 70% of people are there to take pictures. So like, what
Yeah.
is your like meet and greet? I mean, I'm assuming it's a little different than like mine might be.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, for sure. The way that my dealership is set up, so our showroom is 2 stories high. And then there's like
Okay.
almost like a catwalk, and that's where my office is. So I can see everything. So I kind of, if I see someone come in, I will, kind of stand up, obviously go over the balcony and say hello. If you need anything, let me know. If I'm downstairs, it's more of you kind of get a sense because there's a lot of kids that'll come in with, the big cameras and stuff. So
Yeah.
those ones are easy. But there's also the people that just walk in and yeah, honestly, that's a very good question because it's tough to differentiate sometimes, and you don't want to dismiss somebody that is a prospect and they're going to buy a car.
Yeah, yeah, of course, I can
It's
imagine.
tough. Yeah,
So I know in my store, like if there's somebody like walking around without a
yeah.
salesperson, it's like, who's someone go say hi to
Oh,
them,
yeah,
someone go say hi to
totally.
them.
Yep.
Where it's probably a way different vibe at your store, of
I mean,
course. It's
there's
like,
literally 2 humans working at my store. There's me and my manager, and then we have a reception guy.
no F and I?
No,
You
no,
do it?
that's like episode 2.
Okay.
It's
We'll stick on Nick selling McLarens and all the questions I
yeah,
have to.
yeah,
This is really interesting, man. I've
yeah,
never really talked to someone who sells exotic cars in this type of situation.
yep.
That's very interesting. Now, obviously, we just kind of covered like the people wasting your time. Now, on the other side of things, like you ever like see a celebrity walk in and you're like, oh my God, that's Kevin Hart. Like, or like,
Yeah,
I'm just an example, but like you run right
yeah.
up to them. Has that ever happened?
So it's funny. So we're near New York, so obviously a lot of the Yankees, Rangers, Knicks, Nets, Mets, they live kind of in our area. Our Ferrari store gets a lot of them. A lot of the Yankee guys are Ferrari guys, which is cool. And I'm a big baseball guy, so I
Mhm.
have to I used to get kind of worked up in my younger years. Now I'm 32, so I'm like a little more calm with it. Um, but no, we've gotten some cool ones. I mean, again, with the stuff we have, it's the stuff that in theory those guys would be driving.
Yeah, of course.
I haven't had like one of them just walk in randomly. I've had a few have their agents or assistants or those kind of people reach out. And it's tough because the celebrities are very one side or the other, where it's either they understand that they're busy and they just want to get the car because they like it, or it's I'm a celebrity, you're going to give me a steep discount.
Isn't that crazy?
Cra-
I'm not gonna name, but we had somebody that plays a sport for the Pittsburgh area who, like, I used to think was like really cool. Now it was his agent, so maybe his agent gave us the bad rub.
Could be.
But they were like, "Yeah, we want the best deal, like below invoice, this, that, the other." And we're like, "Dude, you're like, we just saw
I
the
know.
contract you signed. Like, come on."
$5,000 discount's not changing your life, sir.
Yeah, and it's like, we'll work with you. We'll give you the same deal we'd give someone
Yeah.
else. But like, you gonna make an ad for us? Like, or if
Yeah.
not, like, here's the price.
Yeah, I mean, now with all of the influencers on, online and stuff, those ones come in or will send messages like, I'm going to do this post, I'm going to do that post, but we've had people ask for cars for free. And that, yeah. And,
Crazy, bro.
and they
People
were,
are
and they
so
were serious
in their
about it.
mind. That's crazy.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that part's wild. But, yeah, we also get a lot of the incognito Wall Street finance gentlemen that you would never know have it, and
Just for money.
they got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've had a couple times where, they come in almost like this. They just come in like a, a hat and a hoodie, and they leave. And I had a nice conversation with them. They were just coming to say hello. And I asked my manager, like, "Oh, who's that?" It's like, "Oh, it's the CEO of JP Morgan."
Yeah.
You Google them, you're like, "Oh, you're like, got it. Noted."
Now, I know you mentioned Ferrari, and you would know this answer. With Ferrari, you do have to be like approved to buy a brand new Ferrari. Is that correct? Is that a myth? Or is that legit? Like you can't just walk in and buy one?
Eh, it's loose, is what I'll say. There are times where you can buy, like, the Roma is their quote unquote entry level, and it's still a $300,000 car, but that's their Grand Touring front engine, so it's not one of their like track cars. Certain models you definitely have to be invited, like the ones that are the limited series. But some of them you can get, if you know a dealer or you've built a relationship. That's obviously the easiest way.
Yeah.
But there's times where dealerships will have availability, but it's very limited. So that whole like myth about like you have to buy 8 cars from them to even be considered to buy a new car isn't necessarily true, because many of the cars are more available than that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. You figure every myth is rooted in some truth.
Yeah,
So
the limited stuff for sure. Like the limited stuff is offered to the clients, and that's
yeah.
us.
That
So
makes and that was my next question. Is McLaren that same type of like, hey, we're coming out this car, call your people, call your best client, offer it to them first type of
yeah,
thing?
yeah. I mean, we had to go so far as to almost building like a profile, like a client profile, and sending it to McLaren.
Mhm.
So that part's pretty interesting, because it's basically their entire purchasing history of McLaren's, and then they basically have to be approved essentially to. It's crazy to say they have to be approved to have the honor to spend.
To spend the money. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I was really interested about this, and I think I know the answer to this, but does the economy affect exotic car sales, or is it just like steady?
You got some good ones. You got some good questions.
Believe me, if I wrote these questions down literally like 15 minutes ago,
No, I would
I swear.
I would not doubt that at all. Uh, I'd say it probably affects it less than, I think I would honestly like to see a study of, like super economy cars like Honda, Toyota. Is that affected? Because it's almost like the people that are buying Lincolns or, Lexus, Audi, maybe they have to go from that to Honda in bad times.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas my segment is kind of, I don't want to call it economy proof, because it's definitely not, but it's a little less, finicky with the economy, is what I'd say. Like
Yeah, if you got 10 million in the bank and the S&P goes down 10%, you might be upset, but you're still like, "Nah, I got 10 million like
yeah,
cash, like I'm good."
last year you made 10 or 12 million, so
Yeah,
yeah.
you're chilling.
I'd be curious if like the middle ground, kind of like the Audi, BMW, Mercedes crowd, if that's like the most affected by the economy. 'Cause that's
I would
probably
say Lincoln is slightly affected. The only difference that I've noticed, because our sales have been increasing, I can only speak from one store.
yeah.
We just see people switch to cash buying instead of taking rates.
Okay, yeah.
Our sales go down. We just the way they buy them switches. You'll see people pull because we're a more mature crowd. So you'll see people start pulling from their investments versus taking financing options.
Yeah, because
But
they're not taking like 6, 7, 8%.
yeah, no, I don't know about McLaren, but a Lincoln customer very rarely is going to be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's definitely, listen, I was at McLaren for 2 years, and then I left to go to a Porsche store, and now I'm back. Prior was during COVID, so like 20 and 21, and rates were like, I mean, I would get, people approved at like 1.9 or 2.9%. And that's great. Like people would hassle me if it started with a 3. And now it's like, you're getting 6, 7, 8%. If they're in the industry, they get it, but if they're not, they can't comprehend that rates have doubled.
Yeah.
So
I know you said it's for the next episode, but I'm actually intrigued. So we're diving into it. So somebody
Okay.
buys a car off you, you sell it to them.
Yep.
Who does the financing? You said it's a whole different. I need to know. So you do it. So you are also a finance manager.
So yes. basically. So like I'll submit apps. I'll talk to the banks. We do it all. It's kind of fun, to be honest.
So you're a single point of contact.
Yep.
Okay. I did that. I'll tell you why I didn't love it, but it's probably because we're just doing more volume.
Yeah.
But has
Yes.
that been since day one?
Yeah. So when I was here the first time, it was the same thing. So we do all of the finance. We don't have like back end products per se. We don't sell wheel and tire, not really Gap. We do like paint protection film for our sports cars.
Okay.
So it basically, I don't know if you guys deal with that at all.
No wrap, actual like the clear bra or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like some people do their whole cars just because they want them. That's super popular on sports cars.
That's probably an easy sell.
Yeah, I mean, people ask for it, to be honest. And then so when I was at Porsche, I was doing training for finance. So I was one of our F&I. I was our backup finance manager. So now coming back to McLaren, doing finance again, that training has been super helpful because I actually understand what's going on. When I was first thrown into it, they were like, you have to submit this app, you have to get an invoice number, then you have to. I was like,
Crazy.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's nuts. I did it for a while, and I just was like, I couldn't break past like 16, 17 cars because like right now, like I don't do it anymore, and I can juggle 2 or 3 customers. If I'm in the back signing, I'm just missing out on everything. Where right now, if a customer goes back to F&I, I'll go take another up.
You would do sales and F&I?
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough.
It wasn't extremely hard. It was just I felt like I was missing out on opportunities, which I totally am because now I'm averaging this year like 23 cars, which isn't insane.
Listen, to me, 23 cars, my head would explode if I tried to do that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, good for you. That's awesome.
No, it's cool. It's cool. But, the fact that you're doing sales at F&I probably makes you so valuable, though. Oh, I think my camera turned off.
We lost it.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Are you on a desktop or are you on a laptop?
I'm on a desktop, but I got like this camera that I'm still learning how to use. Let's see if I can get it back on. There we go.
There it is. I was gonna say your camera's very good.
Yeah. It's a camera that's like mounted behind the laptop. It's supposed to not turn off after 30 minutes, but it keeps doing that. So my little brother is my cameraman, so I'll have to chew him out after this, but that's okay.
Technical difficulties.
Now, but you're going to be so valuable, if you have aspirations to move up in management possibly, or, if an opportunity arises because the front and back, which is huge because so many sales guys, I noticed this as we've gotten in like managers that went from salesman to manager from another store, how blessed I was to be in a small store is I know the whole sales process front to back. I know everything. And guys would come in and they worked in a store. Some stores keep their sales guys in the dark. Like, just go present this payment.
That's crazy.
Like we hired this one manager who like didn't even know what finance reserve was.
Yeah.
You are my manager and you don't know what finance reserve is. But at his old store, it was like, you had like old school manager mindset. Go present these numbers. Don't worry about anything. Don't worry about the rebates. Don't worry about the rates. Just get him to say yes to a payment. We'll handle the rest, which works.
There's a lot of ways to sell a car. There's a lot of ways to run a business. But at the end of the day, it's all people. It's what I always say. It doesn't matter if you're doing Lincoln, if you're doing Honda, if you're doing McLaren, it's all people.
Exactly. People will buy a car they don't even necessarily want. I shouldn't say want, but they'll go with their secondary vehicle to buy up the right person, which I'm sure you see all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's again, like I said, like I don't sell things that people need, right? It's things that people want.
Correct.
If I were to piss them off to the point where they're just over it, they'll move on with their day and drive one of their other 6 cars that they have, Yeah. So it's interesting to me how you can hire people and it just doesn't work. You can be a good person, but selling it's a different animal for sure.
It is. And I can tell just talking to you, you're a good salesman because you're likable, you're trustable, and you know your stuff. I think knowing your stuff is the most important thing, at least on the luxury to highline end. Yes. Because it's impossible to carry yourself with confidence and say certain things to get people to like you. Because if they're like, oh, this guy's good, and you're like, well, what engine's in this? You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah. So it's like you got to know your stuff and then you can sell, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, true. Especially, I mean, I don't know if you see it, but like people will test you. People will know the answer to a question, and they'll
Yeah.
ask you the question anyway.
That's my favorite type of question to answer.
Yep, yeah, and you know it too.
Because
Like,
they'll ask a question that you would. It's just like,
you would
why would you
never
ask that?
correct. You would have no business asking.
Yeah.
You literally Google like top 5 questions to ask when buying a McLaren.
Yeah.
It's
Now,
fun.
do you drive a McLaren?
No,
I don't know.
I
Just
wish.
asking. I don't know. I thought maybe there was some. I was on your website earlier. I saw the
Yeah,
leases were like 2,100 a month. I know that's probably with like 30
40,
grand
40
down.
grand down. Yeah,
Oh, it's 40.
yeah.
I wasn't
Uh,
sure if they had some crazy employee one though that you took
no, I
advantage of.
wish there was a time where before I worked here, and it wasn't McLaren, it's a different brand. They made too many of a car, and
Mm.
they were doing employee leases for $900 a month, insurance included, nothing down, and it was like a $200,000 car. So there,
That's a damn good lease. That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
damn good lease, dude. I would do
There
that.
were 3 or 4 of my friends zipping these things around town for 2 or 3 years.
Dude, I
Well,
wouldn't want to give it back. I would extend that lease if I could.
yeah, no, I know. No, I actually, so I have an '08 Cayenne, a Porsche Cayenne
Okay.
that I got from when I worked at the Porsche store.
Okay.
It was a one owner. He bought it new from us.
Yeah.
Um, like never drove the thing. It was mint, and it was like my car that I always wanted back then. Because like when I started driving was I was born in '91, so yeah, it was like right around then, right? Like 20 or 2006, 2007. Is that right? I don't know, something like that. But anyway, it was my dream car. So he traded in one owner. He had like one of those like binders that an old guy has, all his
You
service
knew
records.
that, like, I needed to buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So I
I
ripped
know
that thing
I know
around.
this car. I know what kind of car it is without even seeing it.
Yeah, yeah,
How
it's
clean
fun.
it can be.
But no, I do not have a McLaren. I
Is
wish.
McLaren your dream car? Is that like
I'm like I've drank the Kool-Aid, man. They're fun. They're from like a strictly driving perspective, it's really hard to beat. Like they are super, super fun. It's almost like you can't comprehend how fast and fun they are until you drive it.
yeah.
And that's another one that we should talk about is like test drives because
Dude, I didn't even think about that. We'll definitely talk about that. That's a great subject, especially on a car like this.
it's one of those like they're very mileage sensitive, you know, like it's the difference of it's not like they have 30,000 miles, so another 1,000 miles is like whatever, you know. It's they have 100 miles or they have 500 miles, so you know if you go from 500 miles to 1,100 miles, that's a big difference, you know,
Yeah.
especially on a pricing perspective. So that's another one going back to our like you know prejudgment.
Yeah. How do you let someone test drive? I mean, do you
Yeah,
require a credit app every single time?
if their previous clients know, obviously, you know, if they've had other stuff from us and they're interested in something else, we'll obviously take them out. But yeah, if we don't know you, we have to agree on numbers, and you know, we're not going to test drive and then you ask for a $40,000 discount. You know,
So how does that go? Say I walk in, hoodie, t-shirt, getting out of like, let's just say a
well,
midline luxury car, Lincoln Cadillac, whatever. And
yeah,
I'm like, hey, I want to drive this. If I
yeah.
like it, I'll buy it. And you don't know who I am. You'll make me do the numbers first.
See, I mean, it's very case by case. You know,
I got
to
you.
be fair, not many people walk in and say, "I want to drive this." There's
Okay.
also you would be surprised at how many people will call and try to like schedule a test drive. Like they almost try to do it as like politely as possible in hopes that that works, which we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's tough because it's again, it's very case by case. It's like you know you can't just say no, but you kind of you know you have conversations. You know you see if they've had other stuff that's very similar in the past.
Yeah.
Um, because it's also you know it's almost more of a liability because those things. I mean, you can get yourself in trouble with 700 horsepower quickly. You know,
Yeah.
so if you haven't driven something that's similar, and especially how low they are, if you're not, you know, slowing down at certain points where there's dips in the road, like, you know, it can be an issue.
You ever have someone just be that guy on a test drive and just go insane?
Not at McLaren. When I was doing events, yes. I used to do a lot of these very like luxury VIP events for car launches.
Mhm.
And again, not gonna say what brand or who the gentleman was. He was a very popular public figure. Super nice dude. And I, to be fair, kind of egged him on, but we ended up doing, I think it was probably like 170 on the highway or something.
Oh
Like,
man, how do you stop? I don't like going that fast.
no, especially in the right seat. I'm just like this. Like that was me for, we probably were doing it for like a mile.
It's too fast.
Yeah, it's too fast. And it's the crazier part of that is slowing down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of course. You need like a parachute.
Yeah, not my thing. Not my thing.
Now, are most of your clientele pretty nice people, or do you get the schnobbies too?
No, what did you call it?
Snobby. You know where it's snobby?
Yeah, it's some other word. Yeah, most of them are super cool, to be honest with you. The repeat clients are the best. Like, they come in, they're like, what's new? Why is it better? Let's do it. You know, like, you get it delivered for this weekend. I'm like, probably next weekend. He's like, okay, done. You know,
why an extra week?
That's it. We got so much to talk about. It takes a long time for these cars to get ready to be delivered. You know,
like one's on your showroom floor. I'm like, what's up, Nick? It's Russ here for my third McLaren. I'll take it. You tell me 2 weeks. Why 2 weeks?
So you have to, again, if the car's been there for a while, it's not like we have like 5-day turnarounds, you know, like there'll be cars that'll sit for a month, 2 months, not just us, just in general, in the supercar world, just because there's not that many clients.
Of course.
So let's say the car's been sitting there for 40 days. We will send it back to service to make sure that everything checks out. So that's, call it, 2 days. We'll detail it, obviously. And when we detail, we have a full paint correction. We have a detail team that has, 4 bays. It's like a legit, the detail you see on TikTok, like a very thorough paint correction, everything.
Like a little brush, like underneath like the door handle, like the little Dremel brush.
Yes. Those things are sweet, by the way. Like that ASMR stuff for like,
I love it.
So that's another, call it 2-3 days. And it's, it's more scheduling. It's, if the service needs to be done, that's another 2 or 3 days. So it just starts adding up, So I'd say comfortably 10 days is like the minimum from when you tell me I want the car to when it's ready.
Even if you need like one car for your bonus, like you can't make it happen.
If that was the case, we would figure it out. But yeah, it's again, it's different because when I worked at Porsche, like it was a lot of spot deals. It was people coming in saying, "Oh, I love that Macan," and we could get it detailed and prepped in an hour. But yeah, it's a different world. And people get excited, man. People like you're buying a $400,000 car. You want it then. You want to drive it. And I spend a lot of my time, having people take deep breaths and, understanding that we need our ducks in order for you to enjoy that car to its fullest.
Now, do you try to bring that up proactively, or is that something you hold like in your back pocket until they say yes, and then you're like, oh, by the way, it's 10 days?
No. I wish I would start sweating. If I had like information that I was holding in, I would start sweating. So I'll let them know, like kind of through the process. And it's not I think I've sold 2 cars in my life that delivered the same day. Yeah, I know. It's,
dude,
that's not true. I shouldn't say that.
I get what you're saying with McLaren. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's why you guys are so prestigious. So like, once again, I sell Lincolns. It's a great car. It's a very luxury car, nothing to be ashamed of, but it's not prestigious. I'll sell 4 in a day, back to detail, wipe it down, fill it up. See ya.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Sure procedures and processes are very like white glove treatment. Like,
oh yeah. Like I'll send you some photos of our detail department. We have our detail manager that has one of those like those floodlight flashlight things.
Yeah.
It'll light up like a forest at night, and she goes over the car, every inch of it. If there's like a fingerprint, screaming. It's, which is great for us because our clients know.
I got to come check out this. Next time I'm up your way, I will stop by. I want to see this.
It's Disneyland for cars. It's wild. It's really cool. Again, it's an honor to work there. You think about how little seats there are, right? There's 2 McLaren people. There's 3 Ferrari guys, 3 Bentley guys, 2 Aston. I'm saying guys, sales people, sales.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand what you mean.
It was clarify. It's 2024.
Yeah.
So
can you cross sell or no? Is that not allowed?
No, there's certain places that do. I've been to a lot of dealerships for marketing stuff, and there's certain places that'll sell everything. We don't. So I can sell obviously McLaren, and I can sell any off-brand. So we actually take a lot of we take a lot of like Porsche. We take a lot of Porsches in just because they're another good driving brand. So we'll sell a lot of like 911s and sports cars.
Yeah.
So those are fun, and that's another big advantage for me now that I've worked at a Porsche dealer. I can actually talk about the product. Like right now I think we have 4 or 5 Porsches for sale.
Yeah. And then, somebody wants to trade out of that, why they should. And
Yeah.
it seems like the guy who would say what's nicer about the Porsche too. I feel like you would do that.
So yeah, it's nice. It's do you guys have other brands?
No, I sell just Lincolns. We get used cars, but we are just Lincoln, not even a Ford store.
It's Biondi, right? Is that you?
Yes, correct.
Do you have other stores? Like, do they have other stores?
No, we're a standalone, just
Really?
Lincoln. Yeah. It used to be Lincoln Mercury, but then Mercury went away, and now we're just Lincoln.
Fascinating. So you're not even part of like a bigger group?
No, it's just us. I'm hoping I can help us grow, but that's like beside the fact. But
there's like it's one of those like bigger, more money, more problems kind of thing, right?
Right. Of course.
So when I worked at Porsche, it was I don't know if you ever heard of Leaf down in North Carolina.
That sounds super familiar, but no, I'm going to say no.
So they just got bought by Holman, who was also huge, but they're both family owned.
Yeah.
And so now they're going to be continued family owned versus being bought by like an AutoNation or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I didn't know that you guys were like just like one store.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes people and I don't try to read all the comments on my post or something. But, I'll throw up like a 30 car a month.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this guy's selling a bunch of Fords and all that. I'm like, no, this Lincoln's, dude. I swear, that's all I'm selling.
That's funny.
It's tough. Now, we're gonna get into a little bit more personal side of things because the point of this podcast is for the salespeople in general, new salespeople, old salespeople, to figure out what's possible out there, the different types of sales guys. So we're talking a little bit about money if you're comfortable. We don't have to be super specific. I don't need to the penny. See
I have my returns right here.
So what's the most amount of money you've made on one car personally? Like commission check you got on one car?
In my career with everything, probably close to like 10,000.
And that was what kind of car was that?
A McLaren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the $1 million P1?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So you
$2 million.
That's like 10% MSRP almost. You said it was $1 million?
Yeah. So the MSRP on those things was like close to 1 million, and they've appreciated all the way up to about 2. Pretty crazy.
That's nuts. 10,000. That probably felt good.
Yes, correct. We had a nice steak dinner that night.
And I feel like your customers send you gifts. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes. Yeah. We have probably, I'd say 3 or 4 regulars that will come in. So one of them lives in New York City, and he's like one of our best dudes ever. And he brings us bagels, and he brings us like some super fancy pastries. And it's like every time he rolls up, everyone gets excited.
They know something good's coming.
Yeah. But yeah, that $2 million car was for sure the biggest, and I don't foresee that being beaten anytime soon.
Yeah. Now, you ever gotten tipped before? It's like a huge dude just hands you a stack of hundreds or something.
Dude, I wish I had a cool story like that. I mean, here and there. That actually happened more at Porsche, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, where people are super grateful for the assistance, and it happens. I feel like it happens more in service than anything, from what I've heard.
Okay, that makes sense though.
Yeah, I've never had. I think the most someone's ever tipped me or just kind of given me is probably $100 maybe. Which
I had one person. I mean, I've gotten little tips here and there, $100, but I had one person literally. I don't know if they were trying to be a show off or something, but handed every person who was involved in the deal $100. Like me $100, finance manager $100, person cleaned up paperwork $100, detailers $100. Dude grabs the door $100, and I was like, "Oh, you're crazy, dude." That's awesome.
There's at my old dealership, there's a couple service clients. Their service bill will be $200, and they'll give the guy $400 or $500 cash. That has to be showing off. It has to be. It's crazy.
Now, back to the money here. Every dealership has some type of, if you're listening to this and you're not in car sales, it's called a mini. That's the least the dealership will pay you. Even if the dealership loses 10 grand on a car,
Yeah.
most will pay a salesman something.
Yes.
So like what's like a mini in the McLaren world?
Most luxury cars, minis will be like $1,000.
Okay, so if you
You-
roll a car, we know
Yeah.
you're making $1,000.
Yeah. Which is great. But again, it's, like we're saying, if I was selling 30 a month at
Yeah,
$1,000 a mini, I'm doing
yeah.
well. But
But even if and I'm not saying you make all minis, which you
yeah,
definitely aren't. I'm sure a lot of your customers aren't super price sensitive.
yeah,
7, 8, 9, 10 grand a month's a healthy living. I'm sure you're doing much, much better. But to anyone out there listening to that,
yeah, for
that
sure.
could change your life. 7 grand a month, sell 7
Yeah.
cars.
Again, it's all relative, right? It's like depends on, A, where you live, B, where you're coming from and what you've made in the past for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
At my old store, I mean, there was some Honda guys making, 3, 4, 500 grand a year.
Yeah, I got an interview with Frank. I'm going to butcher his last name. Frank Criniti. He sells the most Hondas in the world. He sells about over 100 a month.
I mean, he has to have like an assistant, right? Or
I
something.
think he has a couple. He's in a Facebook group that I'm in that I got invited to for just like top salesmen. And I'm not even a top salesman. I think I just got invited into it because of my social media.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a top salesman. 30 cars a month is like, I have to imagine is top like 1%, right?
I'm closer to like a 20 car a month guy. 23 is what I'm averaging this year. I keep
that's
off 30.
That's not a lot of cars.
It's a good amount. Maybe I'm just hard on myself because everyone else in this group, there's a couple guys worse than me, but everyone else in this group is like 100 cars, 60 cars, 80 cars a month, and they're all just like crushing it.
I mean, that's ludicrous.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. I don't know how he does it. I'm going to find out when I interview him next.
I would be listening to that episode.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. Now, I don't need your yearly income. We can leave that up to the imagination of the viewer, but I'm going to imagine this was during COVID. Maybe I'm wrong, but what was the most you ever made in a month?
So actually, it was not at McLaren.
Was that Porsche?
Yes. The most I just made over 30 grand in a month.
That's crazy.
Which was, it was wild. It was like every day, like the stars aligned. It wasn't like they aligned like once or twice. It was 30 days in a row. Like all my new car builds came in at the same month.
That's the best.
The people last month that were like, yeah, I'll think about it, end up buying cars that month.
Yeah.
So that was 30. But I mean, again, it's all relative.
How many did you sell that month?
I want to say like only like 16 or 17, something like that.
Yeah, that's crazy that you made that much off those cars.
Yeah, there was I think it probably had 5 or 6 new car builds come in, and those
GTs, 911s.
Yeah, there was a GT3 or the Turbo S. It was I think the average new car was probably like 250 that I sold that month.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was.
So I'm trying to get Samuel from Porsche on Instagram.
Oh yeah. He's in out in the LA. Yeah.
Yeah, we talk a little bit. I would say we're friends. We've talked on the phone. I'm trying to get him on the podcast, and he's like, but I'll get him on. And he says he tries to only sell. Like he'll sell whatever, of course, but like he's like the 911 is what he tries to sell the most of. And I'm not going to expose what he makes, but he told me, and I was like, "Geez, bro, damn, okay."
He's doing. I mean, you got to make a lot of money to live in Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
and he's doing it.
He is doing it. He might make more than my whole dealership combined. Like, not even kidding.
I mean, good for him. Good for him. He's the poster child for what you want to do with Instagram turning into sales.
Oh, no doubt, bro. No doubt. And he was telling me too on the side note here, and then I got another question here for you. He was like saying like Porsche didn't even love some of the stuff he does because like
they're weird about their socials. They're very strict about. I know like our social media manager like has guidelines that they have to adhere to.
Which I don't think anything he does is inappropriate by like
no.
I do way crazier stuff.
They're strict Germans. It's like, what do you expect?
Now, once again, anyone listening, we just mentioned some high incomes that you could make, but in sales, it's a harsh world out here. You could make some lows of lows.
Yes.
And I don't think in America you can make $0 anymore. I think the law is you can have to at least make minimum wage.
You would have to try to make $0 to be fair.
Yeah.
Like,
What's your worst month though? What's the least you ever made?
Probably less than $1,000.
and a whole month's worth of work.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when you do the math, that's worse than that minimum wage. If you
Oh
were
yeah.
there, if you were there 40 hours a week for a whole
Yeah.
month, was that like just starting or just like you say
No,
you mentioned the stars aligned 1 month? Was it just like terrible? Nothing
it
was
was
working.
actually 2 months after the 30K month.
Dude, that's how it goes too,
Yeah.
bro. It's like
Yeah.
you're like on top of the world.
Dude, on top of the world. I'm like, I'm making 400 grand this year. No one's gonna touch me. And then the car gods get you.
They do. They
Yeah.
do. I was feeling that way. Luckily, I turned it around last month, but I
Yeah.
did 32 and a half in, so
Wow.
we're in May. So in March, I had 32 and a half. And like halfway through April, I was at like 10. And I was
Yeah.
like,
And you start stressing.
yeah, and it was like a barely 10. Like it was really, and then it ended up working out. I think I finished with like 24 last month, but it was tough, and I'm just trying to keep rolling here. But I
Yeah.
know exactly what you mean. Like
Yeah.
1 month it's all clicking, and then the next month, like you're just
Yeah,
tripping over.
and I think that's what probably takes a lot of people out of the business, you know? You have 2 or 3 bad months in a row. You haven't had a sustained time of doing well. So you think that's how it's gonna be, you know, especially new salespeople.
Yeah.
Because especially if you don't have referrals, you know, like what would you say your percentage of referrals is, you think, on like let's say you sell 25 cars just for numbers. Like how many of those are referrals or repeat?
Referral repeats are usually half.
Yeah, see, I mean, think about it, right? If you don't have that, I mean, that's
No, it's huge too. And I try to preach to a lot of people. Like social media is like so important because it helps with repeats more than anything.
yeah,
You know how many phone calls I get that are like, "Hey, Russ, just watch your video. You're a knucklehead." But hey,
yeah, that's
you
yeah,
know,
sure. I mean, and
he's
even
always on their mind.
even not at like a level of like where you have like a proper following like you, I still think it's important. You
I mean,
know?
if you had all 400 people you sold a car to the last 2 years
Yeah,
following you had 400 followers, that's still enough to get
totally.
repeats and referrals. And it's like you're not going to call somebody 5 times a week, but they could watch your video 5 times a week, and you could be on their mind
Yeah,
every single day.
it's all about keeping top of mind one way or the other.
Hmm.
You know, even like and any way you can, in my opinion. It doesn't matter if it's McLaren's, Lincoln's, anything. It's if you're the first person they think of when they're like itching to buy something, that's half the battle, right?
No, the huge advice I just got from that Frank guy, that Honda guy I was telling you about. He said you should be telling your customers like, "Hey, I know I just sell a Lincoln, Nick, but when you think of any car, I don't care if it's Lamborghini, McLaren, Porsche, Mercedes, I don't care if it's a helicopter or a wheelbarrow. You think transportation, you think Russ, I know a guy. I'll get you taken care of. You call me when you're ready for a vehicle." And it's like that's how you become like the
Yeah,
mayor of your car community. You know,
yeah. Oh,
which
wheelbarrow. I hope
which
I
you
said
won't be, because then somebody calls you and you might just do somebody else a favor and say, "Hey, go ask for so and so at this deal," or you might say, "Hey, I have this and this. You want to come check these out first?"
yeah. Well, it all comes back to like you're saying, right? Like hypothetically, if I have somebody that's looking at a Lincoln, right? Like you're going to be the person I call. I know no one else that sells Lincolns, and vice versa. You
Yeah.
know, if I was selling wheelbarrows, you're like, wait, I'm pretty sure Nick, my buddy Nick, let me reach out. And then some
He's
other
the
dude comes
premier
in.
wheelbarrow dealer.
Yeah, yeah, the official. And then, but then someone else comes in. They're like, hey, I'm buying this wheelbarrow, but I'm also thinking about buying a Lincoln. You know, so it all comes back around. It really does.
That's crazy. Well, Nick, I appreciate you so much for coming on and doing this with me, man. This is really cool. I learned. If nobody even watched this episode, I'm thankful because I learned so much. I want you to leave us with these final thoughts. So, do you think a new car salesman, whether they're 40 years old, 19 years old, new to the business, should get an exotic car sales, or maybe they should start with something more volume based? What do you think?
It's a good question. It's I think you have to set expectations for yourself. You know, if you're a self-starter who doesn't need like the hustle of a volume dealership, exotic sales are super fun. You're always selling something that excites you. You know, if you're a car person, every car I sell for the most part is a cool car, you know?
Yeah, no doubt.
It's super fun in that regard. I wouldn't consider myself a gearhead. If you showed me an engine, I'd have no clue what I was looking at. If you were like, "Hey, where's the turbo?" I'd be like, it's in there somewhere. I don't know."
It's somewhere.
But I can tell you how much horsepower it has.
Yeah.
But if you, I think you kind of have to be self-aware. if you need a bit of the guidance, then it's one of those things where you should for sure go to a dealership that has a good, mentoring or a good training program. The reason I brought up my previous dealership, Leith, their training is top notch. Like, it taught me so much about selling. And I think a lot of their young salespeople there specifically, they do very well because of that training. So I think there's a lot.
Always be training.
Yeah, always be training for sure. And I think there's a bazillion dealership groups out there, and it's finding one that fits, your vibe as a person and, kind of what you're looking for sure. If you've had other sales experience, I think it's an awesome business. I mean, again, even the month that I made $1,000, right? I learned something. I built a relationship that hopefully translated into, a sale down the road sort of thing.
Yeah, of course.
So it's a fun business, man. It's always something different. That's for sure. No two deals are the same.
No, they're not. Now, if I come up to your dealership, can I test drive a McLaren?
We'll fill out a credit app. We'll see.
No, I don't even know if I can get approved. I have good credit. I don't know if the income's there.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, you got to come up. It's one of those things. Like, if anyone watching is in Connecticut, stop by, say hey. It's fun. It's a really cool place, and for the most part, all of us are pretty cool about showing you the cars, even if you just want to look around. We're again, we're not crazy busy all the time, so we're happy to help and have a chat with a car person.
Yeah, and that's probably fun too, just to make the day go by. Like, if you don't have anything going on, like, you like the product, or somebody comes in who likes the product, I mean, just to even share some knowledge and per se practice on them probably isn't bad either.
No, and then again, I mean, maybe they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, and you look it up, and now the next person that wants to buy it, you have that answer.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of guys that have stories of stuff that I didn't know about from history of McLaren, or they saw this car that was a one of one, and it's owned by a guy down the street, so you might see it. So there's always fun stuff going on.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show, Nick. If you're an interesting car salesman, you have a cool story, you work at a cool store, or you just sell a ton of cars, or you make a ton of money doing it, reach out to me on my Instagram, TikTok, link in my bio. Just fill out the questionnaire. I got a ton of people in the works right now, but I want to interview all the cool and top car salesmen in the country. Thanks again for being on, Nick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Take care, guys.